What up? What is it? We are DV. If you didn't already know that. I am Twin.
I'm also Twin.
So check it out. Today is fucking Monday. Today's Monday and it is March 24th. You're correct. 2025. So it's beautiful out here, as you can see. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling very grateful. I'm very grateful for you guys to be here. Whoever's watching this, whoever tuned in today, I appreciate your energy, your consideration, and your time, and your ears. So I'm just wondering, so how does your voice represent you? How does your voice represent who you are?
Right. Who you are as a person, your personal expression, how does it do that?
Yeah. Like, how does your voice have a presence before you even get there?
Right. Before they even see your face, what is your voice saying to them? Right? Because I've thought that a lot, actually, even on personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we know as musicians, as public speakers, sometimes people may not even hear, a lot of times they might not even see your face. They're going to hear your voice first.
Right.
And I always wonder, what does my voice say to them when they hear what does it say to them? What does it say to the kind of person I am? What does it even say that I look like? Because as we know, visual and sound go together, right? Mm-hmm. I know when I hear someone's voice over the phone, I'm wondering sometimes, I wonder what the way she sounds, I wonder if she's pretty.
Right.
Or the way that guy's voice sounds, I wonder, is that an old man?
Yeah.
Or is he a younger man? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is like your sound can entice a person or activate a person's imagination.
Right.
Because you ever talk to a telemarketer? And it's a chick, she sounds good on the phone, he'd be like, you got a pretty voice.
Right.
It sounds crazy, right, to think that a pretty voice?
Right.
That's crazy, right?
Right?
But naturally, you hear the voice, your mind starts developing a picture of this.
Right.
You know, and it can be vice versa for anybody, man, woman, man, whatever. But however it works for you, you hear something, you start to, or even like you might hear somebody that like sonically their voice may be very off-putting to you. And you start developing a picture that they're very hideous or mean or angry. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or stern. Then you see them in person and they're fucking meek and cool and very fucking loving.
Right.
So that's all I'm saying is like your voice can really represent you in a lot of different ways.
Right.
It's not all under your control about how people perceive it, but at the end of the day, it will have a presence.
And it also has a very strong influence on perception as well.
As an influence, yeah,
right.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely does.
So like for instance, one thing that I used to take in mind on a personal story, one thing I used to take in mind when it came to recording music, which I still do now, but I didn't know this at first, but I started learning that later, about how you say it. It's not what you say in a song, it's how you said it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Really, it's just in communication, period, because tone means a lot too as well.
Right. Yeah.
But let's stick to the music topic first. There were times where I could say a line where I wrote it. It was a very emotional line. Right? Very emotional line. But I realized after saying it so many times and taking so many different takes, which I feel is not as important anymore to do, it takes away the feeling. But after so many takes, I realized I was just saying the lines, just saying it. I wasn't saying it with the same emotion I had when I wrote it.
Yeah.
You understand? And that's the whole point with music. You wanna try to capture that moment in that song. The moment, that feeling that you had when you wrote it, you want that to be conveyed on that song as much as possible. Right, so that was one of the reasons why I learned, all right, I gotta say this maybe 3 takes as most and get that feeling that I was trying to capture. Because after a while, I had lost the feeling. And I was like, I'm taking away from the whole point of this song.
Right.
I'm trying to convey a feeling.
Right.
And that's why I said the way I said it is so important. The way I say those lines, right? Even in acting, you can say a line that was supposed to be funny, but if you don't say it the right way, you don't deliver it the right way, it's lost on everybody. The comedy part of it, the humor is lost because of how you said it.
Right.
That's how important sound and voice really is.
Yeah,
you know
I think
what I'm
that's something that's very often overlooked, like the importance of how you say it.
Right.
A lot of people, I think, especially now in society where we don't often voice express ourselves in ways verbally as much as we probably should or used to, because now we have devices that we can use as mediums to do that.
Right.
But I think it's very important to utilize your voice still. Right. As long as you have one, you should utilize it in a way that's beneficial, healing if possible, but at the very least, fucking in a very thorough way.
Right.
That when you communicate, you're getting your point across in a way that's not just well spoken, but you should also do it in a way that people can also digest it better, which means you got to be more aware of your surroundings and what it requires and the people that you're talking to,
Right.
the crowd you're dealing with. You have to be aware of that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially when it comes to public speaking. You know what I mean? This is something that we're going to get more into later in another video.
Yeah.
But he's right. Like, even your tone and the way you're speaking, your voice will all differ depending on the crowd, the person you're speaking to, your audience, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something else that you definitely want to pay attention to, like when we talk about tone.
Yeah.
And what's the other thing I was gonna say?
The pitch. Now,
the pitch is what I was about to
now
get
check
into.
this
Right,
out.
right.
We're talking about rhythm now.
Right.
That's why music works the way it does. That's why it's in a rhythm, because it has a flow.
Right.
It's even better if that flow can match up and sync up with your heart. There's a reason for that. I'm not gonna get all deep into it, but there's science to it. There's a reason why songs have certain beats per minute, because it syncs up with the heart rate. That's why workout songs, and that's why motherfucking EDM and shit, house music is the way it is, because it's with the natural heart rhythm.
Right.
So we're talking about rhythm. So when we speak, that's why when you listen to a motherfucker talk, like in church, and they're going real fast, and then they start yelling, and then they be real slow for a minute. They bring you up. They bring you up. They bring you up.
That invokes
And
certain
then
emotions.
Certain emotions, and it gets your attention.
Right, exactly.
So that's why rhythm is important as well.
Exactly.
So that works in life, and that works in music, but it also works in teaching. That's why certain songs, when they hear it, you can't stop hearing it, you can't stop thinking about it, because they did it in a certain way and stuck with you.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
So voice is super important, man.
For sure.
Voice.
Is pitch.
Pitch, yeah. Well, it's still part of the voice, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying pertaining to voice, pitch, tone, all that, you know what I'm saying, is important.
For sure.
But your voice is what I'm saying, that people overlook voice a lot of times. Speaking of voice, well, when it comes to like singing, right? People think that you have to be born.
Oh.
And you're not born.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people have, some people could be, I'll say they lean
That's a
towards.
common misconception.
Right, it's a very common misconception.
Yeah.
They lean towards more, you can always lean towards more being a good singer, but at the end of the day, it is a skill that can be taught, like anybody else.
And learn.
And it's something that you should learn.
And develop.
You know what I'm saying? Because the power behind the voice is so incredible. Like I said, we've already touched on it a little bit, but we're gonna get a little more deeper into it about how, like I said, perception. Literally the way, what I'm saying, not the vibrato, but the frequency of that sound. We've touched on this before.
Mm-hmm.
The frequency of a person singing can really change a perception, change a situation, change a circumstance.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because now we're talking about like I said, vibration and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Now we're talking about that. And as we all know, I know as listeners, you get what we're talking about here. That frequency, depending on the levels of it, can change a whole situation, because we know that nothing is actually physical, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's all fluid. So because of that it's malleable, it can be changed. And I'm thinking it can be changed through sound, aka your voice. You know what I mean? So what I was saying, back to the singing part, that's how powerful even singing can be.
Yeah.
It can change a perception. It can change a person's mind. It can change an actual situation at that given moment.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. Depending on how I sing, high or low, it can literally change a person's mood.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
incredible.
here's an example of how you project your voice can influence a person. You could tell somebody to their face how ugly you think they are. If you sing it to them in a beautiful fucking song, and then you sing it to them about 50 times in one day, do that shit for about a week, they're gonna start loving that song.
Right.
Even if you are telling to their face that you fucking think they're hideous.
Right.
If you say it to them with some anger, I fucking hate you, you're disgusting, I hate you. And you say with all the negative feelings, that how you really feel about them, with like conviction, they're gonna feel that shit, and they're gonna know it, and it's gonna make them feel away. Probably make you feel away too, though, because you're just as negative. All you're doing is reflecting that shit back to yourself.
Right.
That's why the power of the voice is so important, because yes, we do live in a very where a reflective world. You know what I mean? Like what you put out is gonna come back. It's gonna bounce back. That's all we're saying.
Right.
Because that's the way energy works.
It also reminds me of like when I hear certain R&B singers, right? Like today's R&B singers,
Right.
Like I love Ty Dolla $ign, motherfucking who else? Trey Songz.
Yeah.
They're not what I would say your typical R&B singer when it first started. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not singing soft lyrics.
Nah,
They're singing like rappers.
Right.
I just want to fuck this bitch.
Right.
I got her legs in the air.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dick her down,
Say
choke
that
her
shit.
out.
Well, all
that's
of
shit
it is
rappers
melody,
say, but
right?
they're singing it with so much melody.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers love it.
You know what I'm saying?
They love it. You know what I mean? Shit, I was listening to it. You know?
Cool, man.
And it's just so different from the R&B singers from before. Well, really, they were just
I'm a
very soft,
man.
speaking, you know?
I remember thinking like back like in the '90s, especially. I don't want to say certain niggas' names on this camera, but you know what I'm talking about. Some of the best R&B singers, they were saying the most vulgar shit to some of these chicks to their face, saying it to them.
Yeah, right.
But this shit was so beautiful. They was just like mesmerized, loving that shit. You know,
right? Because of how you said it, because of the tone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why it's important. It's not what you say. A lot of times, it's how you say it, man. For real. A lot of times, because a lot of people fall for the okie doke that way. They get caught up in how the person made them feel because of how they said it. They're not really paying attention to what they're really telling you.
So let's talk about how to harness the voice though, right?
Straight up.
Like I even took voice lessons before. At first, I originally thought, look, like I was one of the people. If you weren't born with it, then you ain't got it. But once as I got deeper into music and took my craft serious, I definitely saw it was important to take lessons on how to perfect the voice. I don't care how good you were born with it. Everybody can use more, tightening up. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely,
practice.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how to sing, not just to sing, but how to sing. You know what I mean?
A big part of singing, especially good singing, is breath control.
Right. There you go, breath control.
Yeah, it's breath control.
And a lot of that can be worked on through exercise, like cardio,
breathing exercises, doing your cardio.
No doubt.
Working on your core in general will help with the diaphragm strength too.
Right.
And that's what a lot of that shit comes from. Breathe from your diaphragm when you sing. I know a little bit about it because a nigga grew up singing most of our life, and when we was kids, choir and shit. We've been in bands, we've been in groups, been singing forever. So it's like, I know a little bit about singing. So I know that's the basic shit. Even now, like I can tell the difference when I'm doing my cardio and I'm working. I've been doing my breathing exercises. I can tell the difference in my breath control. You know what I'm saying? If I'm doing some sort of cardio, I can tell my breathing's gonna start getting better. My breath control for sure. Which is good for voice projection, man. Right.
What else? What was another way?
Connecting with what you're saying, though, like physically projecting what you're saying.
Right.
If you want to project hate, which I don't recommend, all you gotta do is connect with that energy, then say what you need to say.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a good way to say it. Go ahead, sorry.
I didn't used to be able to connect with my music. Whenever I would record a song, the lyrics was dope, and it didn't feel the same way because it did. First of all, I wrote it, I redid the shit. I didn't record it on the spot, so I didn't connect with the music as well. Like the words didn't connect with how I was saying it. When you hear my voice, I don't sound necessarily as angry as I was when I wrote it because I wasn't as connected to it. That used to be a problem for me.
Right.
But that's what I think is important to physically connect with the words that you're projecting.
Yeah, because then they just sound like lines. They
It's
just sound like
hollow.
words. You know what I'm saying? There's no feeling behind it, right?
Yeah. That's one of the beauties in being able to have a voice. That's just one way to transfer energy.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways you can do it.
And
voice is one of many.
It's one of the best ways to connect. Right?
Absolutely.
The only way to make a real connection is to put some real feeling behind those words.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Or it's not
Put that
real,
feeling
man.
behind that voice, behind that sound.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the connection is not going to be made. And that is why harnessing your voice is a really great thing to do. Is because if you're one of these people like us who are looking to connect, it's important to have feeling behind those words.
For sure.
Otherwise, it will not connect with that audience. It will not connect with the people you're speaking to.
Yeah.
And that can be used throughout just on your everyday shit. You don't have to be a public speaker necessarily.
No.
I'm saying just a person when you go to work every day and you're talking to somebody.
Yeah.
You're trying to communicate to somebody.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that there's some type of feeling behind that.
For sure.
Otherwise, the connection will be lost. I've seen it. Like he was just saying, we tried it in music many times. And you always realize, damn, this just did not hit the way it was supposed to hit.
Didn't connect. And I know a lot of artists go through that too, especially recording artists.
Yeah.
If you're not one of the types, like some people are really dope at recreating that, and that's great. But that's because that should be the ultimate goal. You should be able to reconnect with that and deliver that same feeling.
Right.
That's what we should all shoot for as any recording artist or any vocalist. To try to get that feeling or that message across as much as possible through your voice.
Right.
How you were feeling when you wrote that or whatever. It's not just necessarily music, but it could be a speech or anything. You're doing a commercial, you're delivering a line as an actor, all these things, you should be able to connect with it and project it with the same feeling.
Also, one of the things I learned when I had my little experience with voice acting, right? One of the things, I had a vocal coach with that too, voice acting coach. And one of the things he was telling me was, one of the things that stuck with me, he told me a lot of things, but one that stuck with me was the way, well, back to your pitch, right? Because I would read through the lines so fast, right? And they would tell me, you're not in a rush. You're not being rushed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're not even being timed. Yes, there is a time. There is a certain amount of time they prefer the commercial to be, but ultimately it's about being believable, connecting with the audience once again. So if you're reading a line too fast, you're more than likely not saying the lines the way they want it to be said, and it's definitely not connecting with anybody. Because now, on top of the fact that your pitch is off, your tone's probably off.
Hell yeah.
You feel me?
And people can definitely perceive that.
Right.
They can perceive that.
And if it, you know what I'm saying, depending on the vibe of that commercial, the tone is not going, you know what I'm saying, that tone is throwing it off. It's not going to be for what was intended for that commercial, right? Because the way they wrote it is they had an intention behind what they wrote, right? So you want to know, and they tell you in the sides what kind of tone is supposed to be read in, right? But if your pitch is off, it's going to throw off the tone as well. So it's just disastrous all along. So it's important to, like we said, to really make the effort to harness your voice in so many different ways, whether it has to be with singing, whether it has to do with public speaking, or just everyday life. You know what I mean? If you have any intention of connecting with anybody, harnessing your voice, getting to know your voice, developing it is basically imperative, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta understand, like, the voice is an instrument in itself. It's our God-given, goddamn made, naturally made, organic voice. I mean, instrument. Your voice is an instrument, but it's built into us, is what I'm trying to say.
It can even be hypnotic. Think about it like that.
It's built into us. We have our own voice. You can use your voice to hypnotize yourself, someone else. You can use your voice to motivate yourself, someone else. You can use your voice to heal yourself.
Think about that.
Especially yourself, because you're singing to yourself. You know what I mean? I'm saying the power of your own voice is way more powerful than people even fucking realize or even tap into.
It's truly overlooked.
You know, it's definitely very much overlooked.
This conversation really can't do its justice, but we're trying to with this amount of time.
Right.
But we could go on and on about how important the voice is. But I just hope that in this conversation, you really are understanding how important the voice really is.
Yeah.
And if you're doing what we're doing or doing something similar, which I'm sure you are, that's why you're listening to us.
Right.
If you're doing anything that has to do with your voice, podcast, anything creative, especially anything creative, you know, even if you're in sales, you know what I'm saying, anything like that, the voice is super important and it's super overlooked, and people really need to take it more seriously.
Yeah, if you're in the arena or realm or business of using your voice, consider fucking taking time to invest in your voice and treat it as an actual instrument of communication. And who knows what else. But at the very least, you owe it to yourself to see how far you can go with your own voice. Like, you know what I mean? It's your own God-given gift. It's your own naturally made instrument. Like, use it for something powerful if you can. You know what I'm saying?
It is very powerful. You know, like I said, and like I said, it has so much power to shape perception as well. Because like we said, back to that whole thing about you could be on the phone with somebody and sometimes it might be, let's talk about first impressions. The first impression might be your voice and the way you said that. You had that one chance on that phone before you even have a chance to get in a meeting of face to face with that person. It's about your voice. So you're gonna put your first. So you know, put your best foot forward. Put your best voice forward.
That part, like if someone calls, you answer the phone. Hello.
Right.
They're gonna be like, oh shit.
They might be put off. Right.
Maybe I'll click. You know?
Right.
Or if you answer like, hello, or no, like if you're real polite about it. Hello. If you say it like that, you'd be like, all right, who's this?
Right.
You know what I mean? It just depends. Like, I think either way, it's like you're going to either be welcoming or you're going to repel them. One way, you're going to make them feel warm and welcome.
It's either going to be attractive or repelling.
By the sound of your voice, the way you decide to project it, you know?
So figure out which way you want to go with it and then develop your voice to that.
Right. I would say one more thing. What helps is being able to manage your energy, too. So decide where you want your energy to be. Connect to that. Project it with your voice.
Right.
If you want to be angry, get into that. If you want to be happy, get into that. If you want to be excited, get into that. Right. Then decide, then project that.
Through your voice.
That's what I would suggest.
Exactly.
Yeah. But man, I just think if you guys got anything out of this, man, please, I want you to subscribe, like, share. Let us know in the comments how you felt about what we was talking about. If you connect what we was talking about. If you're a person out there that uses their voice, out here in the world to make shit move, please let us know.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to know your comments because, like I said, we have these conversations all the time, but we don't want to be just talking at anybody. I want to be talking with you. We're having a conversation.
Yeah.
So if you got an opinion, if you disagree, agree, or if you got examples of what we're talking about, let us know in these comments. Because I truly do read these comments, and I really do reply. I really want to know because I'm learning from you just as much as you're learning from me. All right? So like, subscribe, share this video. Please do.
Most def. I'm gonna get in close on this one. I love you, but I love myself. But I also love myself because I love you. So love yourself for yourself.
Please do. Yeah.